Okay, we've looked at solving quadratic equations by factorizing and by completing the square, and now we're going to have a look at the third method, which is solving quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. Okay, when it is difficult to factorize the quadratic, so difficult to solve by factorizing, it's often easier just to use the quadratic formula. So if you've got in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, the quadratic formula just essentially tells you the answers there. So minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Note, the formula is on the reference sheet, so you don't have to memorize it, but you're going to use it probably enough that you'll have it memorized in your head anyway. Make sure that before you use the formula that the quadratic is in standard form, so everything over the left hand side equal to 0. Okay. So here we go. So use the quadratic formula to solve the following problems. Answer in exact form. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight what each of the letters are. So A is 2 here, B is negative 11, C is 5. Whenever we use a formula, we write down the formula we're using. So I'd write down x equals minus b plus minus root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And then I substitute, and you'll notice when I substitute in, I chuck like everything in brackets, okay? I'm a big fan of brackets for when we use the quadratic formula. So minus 4, a is 2, c is 5. Just going to fix that up, it doesn't look right. Over 2a, so 2 times 2. So I chuck everything in brackets, and then we simplify, okay? So, I've added an extra thing here that we're putting it in exact form or insert form. So when we have to do that, if it just said, right to 2 decimal places, I'd substitute all of that in my calculator. Firstly with the plus, work out the answer, and then all of that in my calculator with the minus, work out the answer, and that would be my 2 answers. But because we want exact form, what I do is I work out the bit that's under the root sign. I'm going to work that out first. So when I did that in my calculator, I got 81. So that's root 81. Okay, so we get 11 plus minus root 81 over 4. And you might be going, square root of 81, sir, that's I can work that out, that's 9. Yes, you can. So we're going to do that. So x is going to be 11 plus minus 9 on 4. And when there's a plus minus like that, and we can actually simplify, we split into 2 parts. So we're going to have one answer as 11 plus 9 on 4, and the other answer as 11 minus 9 on 4. So we get our 2 answers there. So that's 20 on 4, which is going to be 5. Or that's going to be minusing, that'll be 2 on 4, which is a half. So in that particular scenario, we got two nice values without roots, because what was under the square root cancelled quite nicely. Okay. Okay, in fact, you could have factorized that original expression. Same with b. You can actually factorize b, but we're going to use quadratic formula for it. So here we go. So a is 4, b is 4, c is 1. Okay, quote the quadratic formula. X equals minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that's our formula. Now we substitute in. You'll see I use brackets like everywhere. Plus minus root, and that'll be 4 squared minus 4. A is 4 and c is 1. Over 2a, so 2, 4. Okay, and now what I do is because we want to put in exact form, I just focus on what's under the square root and work that out. And if it didn't say exact form, I'd put the whole thing in my calculator with the plus, the whole thing with the calculator with the minus, and get my 2 answers. But here it says in exact form, so we're going to just focus on this root, working out what this root is. Maybe you can do it in your head. It's 16 minus 16, which is 0. So, I can work that out, square root of 0. If it's just square root of 0, square root of 0 is just 0. So you're plussing and minusing 0, it doesn't actually change anything, and your answer is just going to be minus a half. So note, we get one solution if we've got root 0 there. We get one solution rather than 2 solutions. Okay, pushing on. Next one. So let's just write down the A value, the B value, and the C value. Okay, everything's over the left-hand side equal to 0. That's good. So A is 2, B is -9, C is 3. Now, we've got the letter Y here, so I'm just going to rewrite the formula just using the letter Y. So it's still going to be the same thing on the right-hand side. Minus B plus minus root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. And now just substituting in, so negative of -9 plus minus, and you'll see I'll use brackets everywhere again, minus 9 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3 over 2A. So 2 times 2. Okay, so I put the bit under the square root in the calculator and I got 57. So that's going to be y equals 9 plus minus root 57 on 4. Okay, we try and take a square factor out, but there is no square factor for that root. So that's as far as we can go. We've got two answers, 9 plus root 57 on 4 and 9 minus root 57 on 4. Okay. D. Everything's over one side equal to 0. Good. So A is 3, B is -4, C is 8. Let's write down our formula. X equals minus B plus minus root B squared minus 4AC over 2A. Okay, substitute in. So it's going to be negative of -4 plus minus root minus 4 squared minus 4 times by 3 times by 8 over 2 times by 3. Okay, so grab your calculator, try and put in this root, okay, and what you'll get is you'll get that it's -80. So we get 4 plus minus root -80 on 2 times 3, which is 6. And remember that if you get a square root with a negative underneath, there are no real solutions. So we write no real solutions. Okay. Just one final thing, yeah. So if what's under the square root, which is b squared minus 4ac, if that's greater than 0, we get two real solutions. If it equals to 0, we get one solution. So for example, here where b squared minus 4ac equaled to 0, we got one solution, -1/2. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, for example, the last question, there are no real solutions. So that's how we can see that our quadratic can have 0, 1, or 2 real solutions. Okay, remember that if you want to actually calculate, if it says calculate the value to a certain amount of decimal places or significant figures, put straight in to your calculator the numbers, once with the plus and once with the minus to get your two results. Okay. Working on 2.08, questions 1 A to E and 2 all on page 65.